All right, so good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Lorena Bailey, and what I'd like to do now is go ahead and extend the conversation that Tyler was just having with you regarding the bear. Now, some of you are intimately aware and are very comfortable navigating our tool where we try to capture competency development for our students. So I have just a few slides. Don't worry, some of them are repetitive, but I just want to emphasize a couple points, and then we're going to go on into our activity. So of course, Tyler mentioned why we do this as part of CAMI, using the BEAR, which by the way stands for the Baylor Experience Assessment Review, is our way to try to do right by our accrediting agency. So in other words, if we've said that we are going to produce highly competent healthcare administrators, how do we prove that? So the BEAR is the tool that we use to try to capture that. Tyler mentioned that we already have some identified competencies. This is across the Defense Health Agency, DHA, so we are not just specific to the Army. We try to go across the federal healthcare system to make sure that our administrators, our students, are able to jump in right into whatever military treatment facility they will actually be working in. Now, Tyler mentioned that all of these competencies are actually mapped on the BEAR, and that is true. I'm going to walk you through that, and you'll have a chance to actually kind of take a look at some students to kind of see where what you would recommend for them as they walk into your facility. Now, this is a little repetitive, but I just want to share this with you because our students are actually asked to self-assess themselves several times throughout their 2-year academic journey. So they get really comfortable with this. But as you know, during the didactic year especially, they're inundated with so many projects in classroom and curriculum, et cetera, that it's easy to kind of start saying, oh yeah, I'm an expert at this. Oh yes, I'm at this level here. So we really take some time to try to tell our students what exactly we mean, how we define the knowledge, the application, and the expert level. So again, the slides are just in there mostly for you to kind of refer back to as you start having your conversations with your students. I know when I've had my advisees, the very first time that I have sessions with them, they'll come in and they'll have rated themselves experts in some areas like public speaking perhaps, because they're very comfortable giving presentations to their commanders, etc. Or maybe they'll assess themselves a low expert still in the leadership domain. And as you know, our students are different from other graduate students in that they come with quite a bit, a level of experience, right? So they've had leadership positions before. So it's easy to say, you know what, I've been in charge of so many people, so therefore I am an expert at being a leader. Well, maybe not so much, and that's why we take the time to say, okay, let's really define what we mean by you being a leader in this environment. So again, we kind of, you know, and I always tell them, okay, show me some scholarly publications that you may have produced within the last 5 years. Oh, what do you mean by that? Okay, if you can't tell me what a scholarly publication is, then we're probably not there, right? So we kind of try to bring it back a little bit and just say, oh, let's look at it, and then they'll reassess where they're at. And again, what we want them to do is just come up with a true reflection of where they're at. So how we measure this? So during the didactic year, and this is such a great time because on Monday we had 52 brand new shiny students come into our classroom, and I love it because they're so happy to be with us and they're excited. And right out the door, the previous Friday was this other class that was walking out panicked because they're getting ready to do their oral exams. So this is a perfect time for us to kind of show them what we mean by self-assessment. So we let them come in. Last week was orientation. It was fun. They played a lot of icebreakers, and we kind of introduced them to the curriculum in the program. But next week, Monday, when they come, oh my goodness, everything changes and it hits hard, right? So we allow them to digest the first 2 or 3 weeks of the program, and then I'll sit with them and I'll say, all right, let's talk about your BEAR. Let's talk, and we've already had the introduction to competency assessments, so now it's time to take a look at this. So they self-assess during the didactic year at the beginning, about week 3 of the program. And what I ask them to do is to take all of those 35 competencies, 36 competencies this year, and say, where are you? Are you at the knowledge level? Are you at the application level? Or are you at the expert level? And they do this self-assessment. Perfect. And then they come back after lunch and I'm tell them, okay, now we're going to do a quantitative assessment of where you're at with the competencies. Huh? Oh, we're going to take an exam. You're going to take the JMSI exam, the Joint Medical Executive Skills Institute that produced the exam that's now LEADS. It's a 185 question that actually assesses all of those competencies in those domains. So it's awesome because now they take these scores and where they might have thought they were experts or highly applicable at the application level, maybe the exam says otherwise. Or vice versa. There are some students who were like, I know nothing about finance. And they take the exam and wow, they did better than they thought they did. So again, it's an opportunity for them to kind of self-assess. Now we all know exams, if you come in and you're tired, might affect your results on it. So again, quantitative, qualitative assessments at the very beginning of the year. Then at the end of every semester, we ask the students to once again self-assess those competencies that were mapped to the curriculum that they had. So if they did U.S. health policy, perhaps it was tied to a specific competency, they'll assess all of that. And the end product is kind of the handout, which we're going to go over in just a minute. At the end of the first year, guess what they do again? They do another self-assessment. All right, you've had a whole year of this. Where do you think you're at? And that they take that 185 question exam again. So again, what we're trying to show is that there was actual growth. From a program standpoint, this is very helpful to us because if we start seeing trends that we're dropping the ball on certain competencies, then it's our opportunity to address that deficit and kind of reassess the curriculum and say, what can we do to strengthen that? In addition to that, the student also takes the oral exam, which you'll see your students are about to do tomorrow. So that's another level of measurement for them during the first year. During the residency year, when they have you, they do pretty much the same thing. But this time, what we ask them to do is to assess during the rotations. So if they're spending some time with your finance department or your human resources department, they should come back and then reflect on that and once again self-assess. Once a quarter for you all during the second year, the student will submit another report to us that says this is where I'm at. At the end of the residency, guess what? They take that test one more time. So again, this is an opportunity for us to try to measure how well they grow throughout the entire 2 years. For you, what we want to do with our BEAR tool is to be able to create a profile of competency development for the student. This does not in any way, shape, or form affect their GPA. This is simply a tool for them. So when they graduate, a couple of things are met. One, did they get what they came to Baylor to get, right? And two, when they walk into their new follow-on assignment or the next leadership position that they have, they can walk in knowing where maybe some weak areas are or what some of their strengths are and how they're going to continue to grow as healthcare administrators. There is no perfect measure. We recognize there's so many things that can impact these assessments, the self-assessments, or even the quantitative test assessments. But again, for us, it's an opportunity, as Dr. Kim used to say, to triangulate upon the truth. So if we have multiple stakeholders providing the student feedback, ultimately that's what we're trying to do, and that is to grow our students and make sure that they get the academic journey that they're looking for. The BEAR tool, of course, is electronic, so it's an Excel spreadsheet. We are working towards somehow making it a web-enabled tool, which would be awesome. That's my dream. But for right now, we're still with the Excel spreadsheet, which is rather comprehensive Excel spreadsheet. There are several worksheets at the bottom of the page. During the first 2 years, their worksheet actually looks like the handouts that you actually have. The last 2 worksheets is a visual representation for the student to see, oh, this is where I'm at. And again, these are all just linked cells in Excel to kind of measure where we're at. And we just provide the student with several different visual graphics on there for them to use. It's a living document. So we tell the student this is not like final thing. This will change every month, every semester, et cetera, et cetera. But again, it's important for them to kind of continue to build on the tool. And for me, the most important part is that it's the conversation starter for you and your student to see where they're at, what do they need. these are just some quick dates. Don't worry about those. Those are in your residency manual, which after your break I'll kind of show to you. But what I wanted to kind of highlight, if you will, pull out the very nice printed hard copy that's an eye chart for you. I know, it's time to pull out those readers if you don't have them, right? But this is the best that we could print them out for you. But I wanted to highlight a couple of things. Again, if you're familiar with the bear, easy, you can follow along. But for those of you that are new with this, it'll give you an opportunity to kind of be able to better track this. On the upper left-hand side, I've divided each one of you into teams. So there's three groups that we're going to break into. Your student's bear, of course, should reflect their name, your name, and their academic advisor's name. At the very bottom of the screen, down here at the bottom, these are the Excel worksheets that I was telling you. What you're looking at, the long legal size paper, is actually what we call the competency assessment matrix. That's what we track during the didactic year. If you notice at the very top of your paper, across are all the courses that are related to our the healthcare administration portion of it. So that's what we have. Those are all the courses. But the very first two columns that we have at the top is where the student will do their very first, the pre-didactic self-assessment. This is them fresh off the street saying, this is where I'm at, okay? So again, it's this very first one here. On your handout, they should most be yellow, maybe some green, maybe some orange looking ones. But that's the very first one. That's when they come in. And then the second column is that exam that they take. So that's where you want to kind of say, okay, my student, what did they come into the program knowing? Were they truly junior to everything, or did they come in with quite a bit of experience? On the left-hand side, if you go down that, those are all of those competencies that Tyler was talking about. And again, they map to each of the classes that we provide. On my screen, you will see that all of the cells are black. And that's because when the student first comes in, they look exactly like this. As they progress through the academic year and they do their self-assessments, those cells will change colors. And that's why on your handout, you actually see a lot of yellows or whatever else you have on there. It's important to know that each of the levels actually have 3 numbers associated with it. So if a student has coded themselves green, they will have posted a number on there. And it'll either be an 8, a 9, or a 10. With 8 being the lower expert and then 10 being high expert. Their knowledge level will range anywhere from 5, 6, or 7, and then of course the knowledge one are the bottom numbers. Any questions on this spreadsheet so far? Okay, the second handout that I gave you, it's just an 8 by 10. We also asked the students to provide reflective comments throughout or after every semester. So, and this is important to them because they will forget what they did the first semester because it's a fast-paced program, right? So what we asked them to do is for every class they took first semester, write some constructive feedback on there. They shouldn't put on there, oh my gosh, the professor rocked, or I really liked her shoes, or whatever. Instead, they should be putting things that they did well, that they need to work on, that they need to come back and refresh on before they take their oral exams. Again, for you as preceptors, this is a great opportunity for you to see, okay, what did my student do during that first year? They will actually do very similar product during the residency year. But what I'd like for us to do now is to kind of break down into groups and kind of take a look at these actual bears. These are 3 students. I'm not going to tell, you know, yeah, I can't remember. Maybe from the year before. I didn't want to hurt anybody. So. There are 3 students. They're actual student bears that kind of came to us. What you have is the first year. So I'd like for you to pretend that this is a student that's coming to you. And as a group, I would like for you to discuss a couple of things. First of all, pre-didactic self-assessment scores, how do they compare with the end of the year scores? No. Okay, good timing. That's all right. Just wait a minute. Give me a couple of minutes. And then what competencies did your students self-assess the lowest? Where did they rate themselves as experts for anything? If this was your student walking in July 23rd, how would you tailor the residency plan for this student? And then what are some topics of conversation you would have with them? In each group, we have some experienced preceptors, we have some new preceptors. So this is an opportunity to kind of explore, kind of talk, and kind of come up with a pretend plan, if you will, for your students. Any questions on that? All right, I'm going to give you about 10-15 minutes. Feel free to get up and refresh your coffee if you need to. We will take a break around 10:30. When you come back, though, we'll share some of your conversations.